South Africa, 1912. The ANC was officially formed in Bloemfontein. Smallpox broke out across the country, and incidentally the Springboks beat Ireland 38-0. It was also the inaugural Bay Hillclimb. Camps Bay Drive, Signal Hill Road and Kloof Road were all venues for previous hill climbs, and the route included plenty of dips and turns to keep the avid driver focused. The last event, by all accounts, appears to have been held in 1962, with traffic and stricter road regulations eventually bringing a halt to all the fun. However, last year, in honour of the climb's 100th birthday, the Crankhandle Club of Cape Town decided to bring the event back to life.
I'm absolutely delighted with the quality of cars we have managed to get together. We've got over 60 cars of the type that originally participated in this hill climb. Unfortunately, due to traffic restrictions, we are unable to replicate the event properly, but we nevertheless have the cars together and we are running the route to celebrate this important milestone.
Not only was there a generous supply of gorgeous machinery from the 30s all the way through to present day, but the club was lucky enough to host some of the drivers who had participated in the early hill climbs.
Born 16th of September 1923, so I'm nearly 90. So I don't think I'm doing too bloody badly. The hill climbs in Cape Town unfortunately were a bit of a problem because they had to close a public road. So we had to get permission from the council, which is always a devil of a job. But anyway, the main one was Camps Bay, the one which you have seen this morning. And let me tell you that that piece of road is virtually identical, including the gutters and the sharp edges and the bumps, as it was when I last raced there.
There were very few houses there at that time, and some people drove over the edge, and just as well there were no houses there. Well, you know, it's quite a narrow road and we try to go as fast as possible, so it's quite dangerous, I suppose. But we enjoyed it because we are motoring enthusiasts and we like to drive our cars too fast.
And the course could certainly be hair-raising at high speeds. Although the 2012 route was not quite a true representation of the original hill climb, the trek up Camps Bay Drive to Kloof Neck, winding around Signal Hill, was just as tricky.
Well, this is a 1928 4.5 litre Bentley with 4-cylinder. So it's got a very long stroke and it's also got a very high torque. So it goes up hills and top gear with ultimate ease. But there were a lot of slower cars, but once we got the dual bit, could overshoot all those and up Signal Hill and turn around and come back. And it was great to see so many other lovely cars on this, which we haven't seen for some time.
I first saw this car in 1957. It was in the Somerset Hospital in the basement and it was lying in a heap of parts. And I was a small boy or a teenager and I just wanted the car right from then. And I've seen the car on and off all these years until 10 years ago. It came on the market and I got the chance to buy it. And I just snapped it up without any decision at all. I just bought it. The car is a 1929 Sunbeam. It's a special. In its early days, it was a saloon car. And in 1948, in Simonstown, it was by a Royal Navy officer, made it into the special that you see now. And he raced it all over the place in Pardon Island, and he raced it in this hill climb in Camps Bay. And that would have been about 1950, I would guess. It's got a 3-litre engine, a straight 6. It's an original Sunbeam engine. The body is a special. It was made here in Cape Town by a man called Charlie Hatton in the style of a Bentley. But all the other mechanical running gear is exactly as it was in 1929. Well, it's a monster. It's huge to drive. It's like a lorry. It has a crash gearbox with no synchro mesh, and it's a huge amount of fun. And on the open road, it really goes. It flies. So it's a delightful car to drive, and it looks beautiful, and it just does something for me. She's a bit old now for that. I have to mollycoddle her a little bit. In fact, we're not going to make this hill climb because we just lost the back axle in Sea Point coming here.
Mechanical malfunctions are common in all forms of motorsport, whether it be back in the 50s or present day, so vehicle trouble may not be unique to the initial hill climbs, unlike some other requirements.
It's quite amazing that we arrived in those days in what we were at work at. A jacket, a shirt, a pair of slacks like I am at the moment, and you just got in the car and drove up as fast as you could go and stopped, and they put you in the order and sent you down again. The first person, first, second, third, so on. No crash helmets, no seat belts, nothing. And the number of people who actually hit the curb and inverted their motor cars without any serious injury was unbelievably few that actually hurt themselves.
The thing I remember about the Bay Hillclimb was unfortunately an accident which turned out not to be fatal, but there was a fellow by Dave LaRue from Paarl. He had a V8 special, and he was one of those drivers who could only drive with his foot flat on the accelerator. And at the second last bend, he lost it, went over the curb and flew into the air and landed on a forest of trees. And that was quite hilarious.
My favorite memory of the one time I was here was everybody expected my car to be the fastest saloon car, but unfortunately in the same team as me was another man by the name of Baba Joubert, and he lived in Camps Bay and he knew the road better than me and he was faster than me.
The whole thing was a matter of fun. There was no money in it. The little presentation prizes were tiny little cups. And it was all a matter of helping each other. If you were a motorcyclist and you got into trouble, somebody would say, got a piece of 5/8 quarter chain? Yes, I've got 6 feet. Give it back to me on Monday or Tuesday. Here you are. No problem at all. Things are not like that today. You've got to dip your fist into a pocket which is full of shekels, otherwise you don't get anywhere.
Well, if you didn't have enough shekels, as it were, you could have built your own vehicle, like retired racing driver Ralph Clark.
I'm driving a PBMG, similar to the one I drove in the 1950s, but I did take part in the 30th of November 1946 with another MG Special, no body, just the chassis. It was the MG Hillclimb Special. Oh, this car I'd been racing in 1948. I found a lot of bits and pieces and I put this car together. Later on, from those spares, I put the car together in 1969, 70. So she's been as it is, as you see it. I built it up 33 years ago. I love it because the MG is easy to work on, it's not expensive, and it's special. The engine is special. It's a racing practice. It's a racing style of engine in this, which makes it very special, the overcam engine. And of course, they race these in England, and this always incentive to drive these cars fast and work on them. It's a hobby.
I'm here with this car, an SS100 Jaguar, 1936 2.5 litre model, and it's handled the hill very well today. Fortunately, the conditions have been nice and cool. The only thing that got hot was the brakes coming down the hill, but we've had a terrific run. I've only owned this car for some 3.5 years. I purchased the car in White River from some gentleman up there, and the owner of the car was a chap who runs the local and owns the local museum, Louis van der Merwe. This was his car. I first saw it several years ago on a run to Maputo, which we all did together, and I lusted after his car, and having tormented him for a couple of years, he finally weakened and sold it to me. I've done a little bit of work on it in terms of mechanical restoration, but this is pretty much the way it looked when I obtained it, and it's just great fun. I mean, I haven't traveled any great distances in it. It's an old car, but we travel around the peninsula, my wife and I, and we have a lot of fun in the car.
A stunning setting, some truly amazing vehicles, and a ton of fascinating stories proved to be a recipe for success for the Crank Handle Club. Let's hope this year sees the event return for another round.